tried to tell you about that middle class strategy in free agency, didn't I? Let's go. What is up, Bengals fam? It's your boy Mike, coming back at you with another Who Daily. And what a daily it was. Bengals making moves as soon as free agency opens. And they're the exact moves that we expected. So we'll go over them. Ted Karras, Alex Kappa. Those are the two big signings they made, but they are huge in so many different ways. First of all, a little bit of proof of concept. If you watched my video where I went over the Bengals being kind of their strategy in free agency is really a middle class strategy, and they like to build their superstars by through the draft and developing them themselves, and not pay for other teams' superstars. And through the draft, and that means in free agency, they're not going to sign the biggest, most expensive names, but the ones that make the most sense. Guys that are the right age, the right side of 30, looking with steady improvement in the league, and are going to improve your roster spots in particular. Spending smart money essentially is what it is. And so let's go through here real quick. A little bit of quick rundown. Ted Karras, he ranked in 2021 8th out of all guards in pass blocking efficiency per PFF. His PFF grade was 72.8, and that is his overall grade. His pass protecting grade's even better than that. He has center flexibility. He played center, I believe, with the Patriots, I want to say. And so what this does is this opens it up to say, look, I still think they're going to spend more money, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. But this opens it up so that they can sign either a tackle or another guard and move Karras to center, or just sign a center and keep Karras at one of the guard spots. Gives him a lot of flexibility. It's a really smart signing. I think he's 29 years old. Really a market upgrade. I mean, a noticeable upgrade to the interior offensive line. And Alex Kappa is going to be a very similar situation. His PFF grade's even better than Ted Karras' at 74.2, but Kappa is a little bit better run blocker, which is goes to that glass eater comment that Frank Pollock made, right? That's Alex Kappa. He is a glass eater. He's gonna when you come to face Alex Kappa, you leave knowing that you face somebody. Let me put those PFF grades a little bit in perspective for you. The Bengals starting offensive interior line and some of the tackles this past year. Jackson Carman, his PFF grade is a 54.2. Akeem Adeniji, 43.0. Deontay Smith, 52.3. Isaiah Prince, 47.2. Trey Hopkins, 51.9. Jonah Williams, 74.9. So, at this point, if I would have told you last year, hey, we can get 3 Jonah Williams, if we can just clone Jonah Williams twice and have him, 3 of him across the offensive line, I think we'd be in good shape. I think you would have agreed with that, right? So this is what I mean by not going out and paying the number 1 overall player at the position, not going out and overspending at guard, but going and getting the improvements that they need to make their roster better. And speaking of that, guys, I wanted to make sure that we set the playing field here. Let's level the ground. What we're talking about. We're talking about a Super Bowl roster that really hasn't lost much in the way of starters. They lost 2 starters today. That's C.J. Uzomah. Peace to you, brother. I love that dude. I'm going to wish him luck wherever his career takes him. And lost Larry Ogunjobi. Now, the B.J. Hill signing, I think, is a direct 1-to-1 replacement. In fact, argument can be made that B.J. Hill outplayed Larry Ogunjobi last year when the Bengals really, really needed him to. He stepped up because they did not have a 3-tech pass rusher outside of Larry Ogunjobi, and when they made the trade for B.J. Hill and had him step into that role when Larry Ogunjobi got hurt, man, did he perform. He earned the contract he got. When it became clear they weren't going to be able to keep Larry Ogunjobi, they jumped on B.J. Hill, and I think that's probably one of the smartest things they've done, because, again, that keeps their options open going into the draft. What do we always say on the channel? Go into the draft not needing starters. You draft that allows you to draft best player available, and you're not going to miss on these really, no-duh type picks right? Like the Bengals did. They tried to overthink the Jackson Carman situation, and they ended up missing on not just Rashawn Slater, but they could have picked Creed Humphrey at that spot. Both of those two dudes are killing it, making Jackson Carman look like a pretty bad pick, right? It allows you to, but the Bengals had to draft somebody to play offensively, specifically the right side of the offensive line. Jackson Carman was the highest guy on their card to do that, and that's who they went with. That's what I mean. Don't put yourself in that situation to begin with. Go sign these guys. Sign your Alex Kappas, your Ted Karras. Now, if the Bengals go into the draft and they draft, they draft an interior offensive lineman. Let's say they draft Zion Johnson, or they draft. For some reason, Linderbaum's there, and they draft him, and Linderbaum comes in, or whoever they draft comes in and beats out one of these veterans. Great, that's awesome. That's exactly what you want. That's how you want it to work, because now you're gonna keep the pressure on that rookie to keep performing, right? But they also have the veterans to learn from on the roster, and more than likely you'll be able to bump. One of these guys out to play a tackle in a pinch if you need to, or something like this. So really good, smart management of this team, not just from a money perspective, but from filling the gaps, making sure you're going into the draft with your best foot forward. You're looking at just right now, even if they stop, and guys, they're not going to stop. They're not done signing people. But even if they did stop right now, you're looking at a roster that just because, they lost their starting tight end. They need to remedy that. But guys, there are plenty of tight ends on the market. They will get tight ends. They'll sign a veteran or two. They'll probably draft one, to be honest with you. And they have the capital to do that now, to be able to go draft a tight end. And look, there's still smoke on the Rob Gronkowski fire, and there are lots of tight ends that would love to be playing with Joe Burrow. I'm not worried about losing C.J. Uzomah. I love the dude from a locker room perspective. Not a huge deal from a roster building perspective. But losing Larry Ogunjobi still, also not that big of a deal. So I actually think, as an overall team, they lost two of their kind of better locker room presences and hardworking dudes in Larry Ogunjobi and C.J. Uzomah, but they bolstered two positions on the interior offensive line that essentially were the reasons that they lost the Super Bowl, right? So you take a Super Bowl roster, you target with laser precision the exact reason why you lost the Super Bowl, and you get it fixed basically in the first 2 hours of free agency. That's an outstanding job. But the reason I say they're going to keep spending money, guys, with the moves today. So if you take into consideration that they're going to cut Trey Hopkins, right, which they probably are now that they signed somebody that can play center. They're probably going to cut Trey Hopkins and Trey Waynes, and they'll cut Trey Waynes because he's making way too much money to not play, which is basically probably what he's going to end up doing. But he's not been a part of the squad, from day one. So if they cut those two players, even taking into consideration the contracts they signed today, the three that they signed, B.J. Hill, C.J. Uzomah, B.J. Hill, Alex Kappa, and Ted Karras, even factoring those three in, they only spent $6 million today if they make those two cuts, right? So cut Trey Waynes, cut Trey Hopkins, right? Even if those two guys stay on the roster, which they won't, they're still depth pieces at this point. They're not making a big impact on the starting lineup. So they still have, that leaves them $25 million still in cap space just in this free agency period, and they're likely going to add a tackle. They're still in, guys. So Leo Collins may still get cut, and then they may still sign him. And same thing with Taron Armstead. Taron Armstead's still sitting out there. He's on the market. And so there's still options out there for them to sign a right tackle. Cornerback. J.C. Jackson's off the board, but I never thought they were in on the J.C. I already told you guys this with the middle class strategy. Look at the corners they have on the team that took them to the Super Bowl. These guys weren't big splashy signings. Nobody was like, oh my God, the Bengals won free agency for signing Chidobe Awuzie. Nobody said that, and they were right. But they didn't go after this biggest, splashiest name. They go after the guy that's gonna improve their roster. And if you continually improve it, and you coach these guys up the right way, you're gonna put together a really good roster. They're still gonna sign a corner, and there are a bunch of them still available. To hell, they may sign Stephon Gilmore for all I know. But there is still a bunch of corners available, and they're going to add more beef. So, in the trenches, trench players, it doesn't matter what positions. They're going to add trench player depth as well with that. So they got $25 million. By the way, that $25 million accounts for how much they like to roll over for rookie contracts going into next year, as well as the $2.5 million or so set aside to sign the rookies that they draft this year. So, and the reason it's $2.5 million, guys, is because of how much they rolled over from last offseason. They're really good at managing cash over cap, which allows them to pay their players quite a bit of cash in the active salary year and push off the cap hits to later years. They like to structure their contracts that way, and it's what allows them to do this. But wanted to go over with you guys a little bit about what this means. If your question is, are these two guys that they signed good? Yes, they're very good. They're both not only proven veteran starters in the interior offensive line. They are on the upswing of their career, coming into their prime. They're coming into the primes of their careers. These aren't guys like a Riley Reef, who there was the question of, is he past his prime a little bit, being 31, 32 years old? Is he going to be able to play like? There's no question for that. For Ted Karras and Alex Kappa, they're in the primes of their career. Same with B.J. Hill, by the way. I think B.J. Hill's 27 years old. So they're managing. They're doing what they do. They're doing honestly what I told you they were going to do. It's a middle class strategy. You look at the specific signings that would upgrade your roster. Don't overpay for your players, and get these deals done. And that's what they've done. And I so far so good, guys. I'll let you know if they do something that I consider stupid. I'll tell you that. But they haven't done it so far. Unlike the Reds, I had to do it. Reds, I don't know, guys. If you're also Reds fans, sorry. Thank you for tuning in, and hit that like, subscribe, do the YouTube thing. It really helps out. Until next time, I'm Mike, and I cannot stress this enough, day, baby.